Hey, what's up, guys? It's John Levitrus. Hope you're having a great day today. Coming back at you with a Peru playthrough update of the part 3 of this series. Now, last time that we spoke, you knew that we were moving into Venezuela and then a little bit into Panama. You can see that we finished up our campaign there along with my allies Argentina and Chile. We have both taken this area as well as into Central America, and then you can also see North America is basically ours. Argentina has basically done that work for us in our coalition. That has happened, and a lot of our efforts have now turned to the Caribbean here in this area, and I'll show you guys what exactly is going on in that area. We run into a little bit of trouble, and that is mainly because of naval warfare. What happened was, after we took Panama City and then northern Venezuela, Canada, who controlled all of North America, we had to defeat him, but he was defeated pretty quickly. The last ally of that coalition was Cuba, and we started rolling in, and Argentina had some good favor as he was moving into northern Cuba, and he was able to capture Santa Clara and Havana up here pretty quickly. However, for me, I came down in the south and I ran into a lot of naval units, almost task force in that sense, with a combination of corvettes, destroyers, and frigates that were level 3 at least. Some of them were higher, and I sent them in overnight thinking, oh, this could be a pretty easy walk in the park, but found out when I woke up the next day that most of my units have been destroyed by his task force that he has spread out. You see this blue dot here. This is a naval radar contact that we have. This is probably being picked up by Argentina's sonar here, but right here is one of his task force, and it's a larger one. There was a little bit of a corvette force right here, and I was able to use my sub that I just had stationed here. You can see its health is basically a half. I moved him a little bit further, and he's still in deep sea. With subs, you don't want them to be in the shallow waters, because when you go into shallow waters, they have half health. And you can see that right here. So here is the high seas. They have 25 hit points, but when you go to the shallower coastal waters, they go down to 12. And that can be really bad for you if you're fighting corvettes, because corvettes have a strength in the coastal waters, and that's where they can defeat your subs, and they also have their own sonar that can detect your subs. As you can see, I've taken Kingston. This is one of the cities I was able to capture after I defeated the corvettes. So now Kingston is mine. I tried to take Dominican Republic / Haiti here, and this is where one of his naval units is sitting right around this area, and they are bombarding my guys trying to get into Santo Domingo. And the same thing happened in San Juan, so there's a naval group right here as well. That made me have to pivot completely on my production plan, because I was going to go air heavy. I was doing bombers and helicopters and things of the such. But now that I have an issue with that, and my allies don't really have any naval units as well, Argentina is the only one with subs, and they're only level 2, and he has ballistic missile subs. I'm going to just take the initiative on my team to be the naval unit guy, and that's what I'm doing now. So down here in this city, I already have my first destroyer being produced, and then in this city here, I am building naval base 3. Once that is up, I can start making more destroyers. While that's happening, these two cities are my main naval 2 cities. Lima, my capital, is still going to be my main Air Force production. And then these inner cities here, this one, Cusco, and this one here, these 3 that were homeland cities, these are going to be mainly my ground forces, tanks, any support units. So that's kind of how I divided up my areas or my cities. If you guys would like to do the same thing, maybe have 2 naval cities, an Air Force city, and then 3 ground unit cities in terms of your forces and their production. But you can really break it up whatever way. But I do suggest that to focus on certain cities to produce certain categories, so you can be a little more organized and you know where to go, so you're not panicking when you get hit by an enemy and you're just trying to figure out what city to go to. You know what cities in your mind to click on and start producing. And also, if you're in a rush, another thing I highly suggest is you get your recruiting offices not just to level 1 but to level 2, possibly 3, because that can drastically help with your production of your mobilization. This is going to be a level 2, but when you get to level 3, you can see you can go all the way to 5. you can get some pretty fast mobilization speeds there, and I do suggest that, especially if you think you're going to be in a situation where you're by yourself or you only have one ally, but you're going to face a larger threat in the future, and you need to produce units even faster than your enemies. Put those recruiting offices up in higher levels, and you're going to see some results with getting your forces up to speed and produced faster, especially in a 4x map. You're going to see units produced way faster. Going back to what was going on in the Caribbean, you can see that I'm going to have some naval units going to be produced. So what I'm going to basically be focusing on, I'll show you my research tree while we're talking about it, is I'm going to have destroyers going to be leveling up. I've already got level 1, of course. Level 2 is at 40%. And I'll probably keep going all the way up to level 4. And then I have my frigates, who I just started researching, at 3%. I may get that to like level 3. And then after those are at 3 and 4, I may consider the cruisers. And cruisers are really good. They're strong. They're a good all-around surface vessel. They can battle surface vessels and subs and missiles, fire missiles at the same time. That could change, because usually I just like to have frigates and destroyers and maybe attach subs, or have subs go out in front of them to scout, and then I'll have my frigates and destroyers do the work of destroying surface vessels and also clearing out beaches for my units. Now let's go to the infantry. You guys can see my infantry tree. I've just focused on the motorized infantry, and they're almost at the highest level. My armored units, I have the tank destroyer still, going to get him probably up to level 4, so I have some strong attack ratings for that. You can see if you get into level 4, 14 attack rating and a little bit on infantry. And remember, that's going to be cheaper than your main battle tanks. I have my towed artillery at level 2. I may go a little bit further to the air assault, but then maybe stop there, because I don't want to go too deep into it, because I need to focus on other units. But that's going to be my ranged attack. Very cheap unit. I know the radius isn't as good as the rocket launcher, and I love rocket launchers, but my economy at the time really supports towed artillery. Mobile air vehicles, get to get this maybe a little bit higher for myself. I may go to level 3 or 4 for this, but not too high, but just enough to where it can do some damage. If you do level 4, the attack rating on helicopters is 6.5, and then your unfixed air wings is 5. And then lastly, in the support, I have my mobile radar. I have this up to level 3, and it's doing great. It's a very good unit to use to have vision and seeing what's ahead of you. Let's look at here. So now I'm at level 3. If you have ground units that are around you and you want to be aware of them from your enemies, when you get to level 3, you can start picking up units that have a low signature rate, and then you have the high on both naval units and aircraft. Also, you can see that it has a range of 200, which is much better than when it first started. First started at 100, and that is double the range, and that really is helpful. Okay, helicopters, I have focused on attack helicopter as my main helicopter here. He's at level 3. You can see the attack rating there on 12. So kind of using the attack helicopter and the tank destroyer in coordination with one another to have some attack from the air, then also from the ground. And then don't forget, I have my towed artillery, so it's 3 punches in 1. Okay, so let's go to the air-spirited fighter. I have him at level 2. I do plan to get him to level 3 at least, so I can have cruise missiles eventually, and then just higher attack rating. And then I have my heavy bomber at level 3. I do plan to get to the stealth bomber and probably stop at stealth bomber, and that'll be good. That'll be my my stealth unit to get across the Atlantic Ocean to Africa or something like that. And then I already showed you the surface vessels earlier. And then we have the attack sub at level 3. I will get him to probably level 4, and you'll have a little bit of some cruise missile capabilities there to shoot at least 1 cruise missile every 12 hours. But remember, that's 12/4, so divide that by 4, that's 4 hours, and then you can launch one every 4 hours. No missile research and no officers and no special units right now. So that is the research tree, guys. Over here in New Zealand, we actually lost our ally New Zealand. He is completely gone. He has this land, but he has no units left. Canada came all the way across the Pacific and took him out, so he doesn't really exist anymore. So I am having these guys take out the rogue nations and take all these cities for myself. So I'm planning on taking most of New Zealand, which will really help my economy. And it's going to be a nice little isolated, like kind of secondary country for myself from everything else, and might get into Australia later. All right, and then big picture, guys, let's look out here into, of course, the rest of the world, because we're not the only guys who are fighting. The other coalition that we have to worry about. So it is this coalition, which has 5 members, and it's India, Sweden, Libya, Finland, and Norway. And these guys are no one to mess around with. So our coalition, we have 1,500 points, and they have 33,000. We have some catching up to do for sure. We got to really stop them before they beat us. And this might be a pretty huge battle. There's only 3 of us and there's 5 of them. India is all this yellow. We have our ally over here, Chile, trying to take over North Korea before he comes in. Our ally Myanmar is getting destroyed by India, which is not good. And then Libya has taken over Northern Africa. And then all this green is Libya as well. And then Norway has taken the UK. Sweden is a little bit around, just taking this. And then Finland has taken parts of Russia all the way out here. And then Norway's in Russia as well. So hopefully this is helpful for your playthrough if you are Peru, or if you have an ally who is Peru, you can be helpful to them. Let me know if you guys have any questions, any comments for this playthrough so far. Really enjoying it. Been a lot of activity. And I'll see you guys later.